Welcome to humanity's connectivity to the divine. Selections from the Kabbalistic Zohar, Part 1 of 2, on Word of Wisdom. Kabbalah is the ancient mystical school of thought of Judaism. Literally meaning the received, Kabbalah is also an esoteric method believed to have been revealed to elect saints and preserved by a certain few since the time of the Garden of Eden. Kabbalah aims to explain the relationship between God, the unchanging and eternal Ein Sof, or the infinite, and God's creation, the mortal and finite universe. Kabbalists developed their own sacred texts, especially during the Middle Ages. These texts, however, still remained within the Jewish tradition, as they often worked with scriptures from the Hebrew Bible to demonstrate the extraordinary teachings of Kabbalah. One of the most foundational of the Kabbalistic texts is the Sefer HaZohar, a Kabbalistic commentary on the Torah, which means the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. The Zohar, which scholars believe was recorded mainly by the 13th century Spanish mystic Rabbi Moses de Leon, presents profound discussions on many topics, such as redemption, prayer, and the nature of God, the cosmos, and souls. The word Zohar means brightness and refers to the light manifestation of the divine. Today, we would like to present selections from the Greater Holy Assembly, a volume of the Zohar where Rabbi Simeon led a group of holy sages through a discussion on the attributes governing the laws of physical reality as symbolized by the features of microprosopos. Although the human mind is separate from the divine, it receives sparks of benevolence and understanding from the divine, as symbolized by macroprosopos, the creator of microprosopos. In the Zohar, divinity and the attributes governing the physical realm are represented by macroprosopos and microprosopos respectively. Macroprosopos is an aspect of divine emanation in the Kabbalah, representing divine will and the source of divine compassion. Microprosopos, which is created from macroprosopos, is an emanation of the attributes governing the physical realm. In turn, the faculties of the human mind are modeled on the faculties of the supernatural mind of microprosopos. The Zohar introduces the concept of divine configurations, and in the Book of Concealed Mystery, another volume of the Zohar, the various facial features of macroprosopos are explained, along with the representation of the divine qualities. In contrast, the aspects of the physical realm and the human mind are modeled after the corresponding bodily features of microprosopos, along with the representation of the various qualities. Therefore, in our readings today, there will be physical descriptions of various facial features of microprosopos, along with discussions by Rabbi Simeon and other holy sages regarding the quality that each part represents, as well as supporting evidence from the Hebrew Bible. Chapter 25: The Ingress of Microprosopos. Now take ye your places, and apply the science, the Kabbalah, to describe how the parts of microprosopos are conformed, and how he is clothed with his conformations, from the forms of the Ancient of Days, the Holy of the Holy Ones. For now wisdom requires that ye judge a true judgment, becoming an honorable, so that ye may dispose all the conformations as accurately as possible. But the conformations of microprosopos are disposed from the forms of macroprosopos. and his constituent parts are expanded on this side and on that under a human form, so that there may be manifest in him the spirit of the concealed one in every part, so that he may be placed upon his throne. Because it is written, Ezekiel 1:26, and above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, the appearance as the likeness of a man upon it above. Chapter 27. Concerning the skull of Microprosopus and its appurtenances, namely, concerning the subtle air and the fire and the dew. This is the tradition. When the white head of Macroprosopus propounded unto himself to superadd ornament unto his own adornment, he constituted, prepared, and produced one single spark from his intense splendor of light. He fanned it and condensed it, and he developed his thought and extended it in 370 directions. And the spark subsisted, and waited until the pure air went forth, which involved it around, and an ultimate extension having been made, he produced a certain hard skull bounded on 4 sides, and in that pure subtle air was the spark, absorbed and comprehended and included therein, and therefore is that skull expanded in its sides. And that air is the most concealed attribute of the Ancient of Days. In the spirit which is hidden in that skull, there are expanded fire on the one side, and air on the other. And the subtle air is whirled about it from this side, and the subtle fire is whirled about it from that side. What is the fire in this place? But verily it is not fire, but that splendor which is included in the subtle air, and it shines in 270 worlds, and rigor or judgment is found therefrom, and therefore it is called the hard skull. Within that skull are 9,000 myriads of worlds, which receive the influx from it, and are at peace above it. In that skull distills the dew from the white head of Macroprosopus, which is ever filled therewith, and from that dew are the dead raised unto life. And that dew has in itself 2 colors. From the white head of Macroprosopus there is a whiteness in it, which entirely comprehends all whiteness. But whensoever it remains in that head of Microprosopus, there appears in it a redness, like as in crystal, which is white, and there appears a red color in the white color. And therefore is it written, Daniel 12:2, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. To everlasting life, because they are worthy of that whiteness, which comes from Macroprosopus, even from the Ancient of Days. To shame and everlasting contempt, because they are worthy of that redness of Microprosopus. And all things are contained in that dew, as is intimated in these words. Isaiah 26:19. Because the dew of lights is thy dew, where there is a duality of expression, and that dew which distills daily upon the field of apples, in color white and red. This skull shines in 2 colors, toward this side and toward that, and from that subtle air from the skull there are expanded in his countenance 150 myriads of worlds. And therefore is he called Zayor-Aphin, Microprosopus, the lesser countenance. But in that time, when there is need, is his countenance expanded and made vast, because he looks back upon the countenance of the ancient ones, from whom is the life of the universe. And from that skull there is a place of exit in one place unto those which are below, and they reflect his light towards the Ancient of Days, when they ascend in numeration beneath the wand. Therefore is his skull cleft beneath, when the inferiors ascend in numeration. And from this cleavage a reflection of light arises toward the Ancient of Days.
It's okay to make war. Only others will die or suffer. The people in your war-ravaged country will have to continue paying tax. To lavish all means to keep you well-fed and safe anyway.
Endearing viewers, thank you for your company today for Words of Wisdom.